Go for it.
Good morning, everyone. It's the one, the only Senor Silverback himself coming to you live with the master of the flux capacitor, CJ, who's working the airwaves, where we bring you the news, the views, and all the information that's important to you. With that being said, guys, check us out, roguemoney.net. I am way overdue to write an article, so keep it posted there. All the guys are doing a great job. Ken, the Wolfman. We have the Russian analyst, Bankster Slayer. We have, a full awesome team. Check them out, roguemoney.net. And with that being said, guys, also check us out on Twitter at the Rogue Money and Rogue Money Facebook, and whatever podcasting app you use, just download it. We're everywhere you want us to be. Also, check out our sponsors. The responses have been overwhelming. People who responded are getting paid already. Find out, myfreedomnow.us. Get out of debt. Get your credit fixed, or if your credit is fine, you don't need to get out of debt. You just need money for that dream idea, that business venture you've been thinking about. You want to maybe perhaps invest in some cryptocurrencies. Maybe you want to get some stocks, whatever the heck it is. Call myfreedomnow.us. Check those guys out. They can get you $600. That's more than $500,000 unsecured, so you can go forth and be epic. Do it and be epic. You got the rest of the year to be epic. Go forth and be epic. Also, with that being said, guys, mygoldusb.com. mygoldusb.com. It's been huge. Go dark online. Escape the deep state censorship and surveillance. Surf the dark web anonymously. Get military-grade encryption and secure your Bitcoin wallet all in one unit. An advanced operating system that allows messaging and email, the whole shindig. mygoldusb.com. Allow about 1 to 2 weeks for delivery. And with that being said, CJ, what's going on?
V, it's Monday. Had a great weekend. Feeling very relaxed, coming into it with a lot of energy. How you doing, bro?
I am so arrested, dude. I think I went to bed yesterday at like 6 p.m. I kid you not. I was so done. I think I don't know, 6 or 7 or 8. I have no idea what time it was. I think it was maybe 8 or maybe 7 o'clock. All I know it was still light outside, Siege. And I went to bed. I hit the bed. I was out like a light. I was out, man. I was stone cold out, like I was in a coma. And I woke up at like probably around 6 in the morning, and I was just lying there. And then my alarm went off at like 7. And I'm like, wow, I feel so well rested. So I got my French roast from Trader Joe's right here in my cup, and I'm just sipping it. I got my organic half and half. Oh man, I'm just dark roasting this morning, bro. I'm feeling great.
Good deal. Good deal. Where should we start?
I don't know, man. I mean, which string do you want to pull? Well, you know what? Let's, since I'm feeling a little French roasty, and we're talking about, the libtard apocalypse, how they're imploding. Why don't we talk about the king of libtards himself? Well, let's start from the bottom and go to the top, I guess, huh?
Yeah, let's do that.
How about Bernie? Let's talk about crazy Bernie. The bottom 5% is after the 1% who's in the 3% divided by the 9%, and that's why there's no jobs, because my wife has made a mess of college.
Yeah, she tried applying those all of her financial savviness to a university that went bankrupt, and now they're under FBI investigation to determine whether or not that Bernie leveraged his influence, political influence, to garner support and get this loan approved that obviously costs this college its financial future, V.
Absolutely. I have no doubt about it. I sat across from those guys, and I said, guys, you got to get this college thing approved. You got to get it passed, because the 5% is after the 99%, and the 32% of the people that are in this college will be able to drop out, and they won't be able to get free healthcare because of the 1%, and my wife was trying to make it happen. And everything that I just said made no damn sense, because exactly that's what comes out of crazy Bernie's mouth. It doesn't make any sense.
And that's the problem that these people don't understand. Is that eventually you run out of other people's money, V.
Right.
And let's think back to who was the one throughout their entire campaign. Who was the one that was stating that college tuition should be completely free? Kids shouldn't have to pay to go to college. So this makes absolute sense in terms of her years and his influence. Didn't New York just pass legislation like that, right? If within a certain income in New York, you can go to college for free now. So,
yeah, for free on my dime. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So when you take a look back and you think of her history, and she was actually the chancellor of this particular school, and you think of the loan that was garnered for it. It was a very small school. There wasn't a whole lot of students enrolled,
right?
And then she got received this loan, for a land deal. And this particular university, Burlington, college, already had debt going into it. So to layer another huge debt on top of it, I mean, the only time that would make sense would be a Bernie Sanders style financial management system where debt is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I mean, my God, it was the 2016 complaint accusing then President of Burlington College, Mrs. Sanders, of distorting donor levels in a 2010 loan application for $10 million from the People's United Bank to purchase 33 acres of land for the institution. According to Politico, another dish rag of ill repute, allegations that Senator Sanders' office inappropriately urged the bank to approve the loan. Yeah, this is going to be very much fun. And if you notice, why is Politico, right? Why is Politico involved in this, writing this article? I mean, they're a leftist dish rag, man. I mean, for them to go out and start going after Bernie, this is their hallowed, messiah. This is the guy who's going to save them from Trump in 2020. One of the candidates. Between him and, I guess, they're all eating themselves, man. The left is huge. They're eating each other.
Oh my gosh! Between CNN and the DNC, I mean, I think this is another. I'm glad you pointed that out, V, because that's a great example. I think Politico here is trying to go ahead and say, listen, Bernie, we don't want you to run 2020, so we're going to run these articles, basically against you, to try to squash any effort on your part to think about running in 2020.
Yep.
Not that I think he would get elected, by the way. I mean, I'm just saying that, it's just amazing when you hear these people and they advocate for all this, free this, free that. And then you take a look at this dealing where you got this large amount of loan debt coming in. They end up probably having to sell that property for pennies on the dollar, right? And this university was placed on suspension and everything else. Take a look at these students and how many lives are impacted here. But yeah, just amazing. You see CNN now retracting stories. They understand. I think that the pivotal moment, V, was when James Comey pretty much ratted out the collusion between the Justice Department to the DNC to the campaign. I think, and now you're starting to see them backpedal off this whole Russian narrative. They're like, wait a minute, they're going on the offensive here. And this is another example of something that you and I, V, have been talking about for several months, that it's time to take off the gloves and go on the offensive and go after some of these corrupt politicians.
Man, absolutely, man. We just got to put it out this way, man. Everybody's out there calling for, civil war, this, that, and the other. And what I've been saying, Siege, what have I been saying since the beginning? I've just been saying, listen, these people are going to go, the worst thing they can do is double down and go more left wing. And that's exactly what they did. And then the thing I said, Siege, is these people will eat themselves. So, and I said that before they literally fall apart, you could expect them to probably get more vociferous. They're going to be more vocal about it. But all these vocals and these erratic, crazy, knee-jerk reactions the left is having, it's similar to the last dying death rattles. And I said these people are going to be setting themselves back 100 to 150 years, Siege. And that's exactly what's happening. This is not, this is, they're done. They're done. I mean, I look at legislation where these idiots want to go after cryptocurrencies and this, that, and the other, and I laugh. I laugh because these morons still don't get it. They don't get it. They're stuck in a paradigm. They don't understand anything, and they think they can go far. The establishment is lost. They're lost. They're lost. The best thing these idiots could do is just shut up and go quietly into the night. And maybe in 100 years you can come back. What? Doesn't look like they want to listen to wise words, CJ.
No, they don't. And I think there's a younger generation that are coming in that are really trying to say, hey, you know what? Much like the Republicans did, I think that on the younger side of the DNC, there's a whole movement that's saying, you know what, we're tired of all this, politics as usual. Now, whether they can change the system or not, that's completely up to them.
Right.
But you're seeing a concentrated effort, and this was by design. You cannot tell me that between the Senate Oversight Committee, calling in Loretta Lynch, the CNN stating that we're going to start really filtering out any type of Russian collusion, just because it's ran its cycle, that this isn't a concentrated effort within the DNC to say, you know what, we've got to change paths here. This isn't working. So, but that's up to them to change course. Whether they will or not, that's up to them.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I want to see Lynch sing like a canary. Someone's gonna crack, man. These libtards don't hold up well under pressure, CJ. They're like limp noodles. They just don't hold up well.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people will say, oh, this is a big distraction that's keeping us from the global collapse that's going to happen. Well, so what if it is, right? I mean, it's
Right.
still, important that this information comes out.
Who's worried about a global collapse? Not the listeners to this program for sure.
So needless to say, this whole thing with Loretta Lynch being, this is something unique, and this is something that people have to understand, is that this investigation that was launched into Loretta Lynch is a bipartisan group effort with the Senate Judiciary Committee. So this isn't just a Republican thing. This is not a Democratic thing. This was signed off on by, Dianne Feinstein, again, ranking leaders within the party to say, hey, let's take it in. And there's a lot to peel back in terms of Loretta Lynch and her actions, in particular with the collusion with the DNC. So not only do you have the potential for them to maybe even, I don't know whether Bill Clinton can be called in to testify regarding that meeting on the tarmac, right?
Yep.
But along the entire path, when you saw that whole narrative completely change, where they were stating that this isn't an investigation, this is now a Clinton probe. It's a probe. We're not. She's not under investigation. So all the special treatment that Hillary received, from that point when they had that meeting on the tarmac. Think about also, V, that they also had that special circumstance where who in their right mind that's under an FBI investigation is allowed, where they state, oh, she's coming in voluntarily to testify, when, that Hillary, she wasn't even sworn under oath or allowed to record her actual, testimony that she provided when the FBI gave her that special treatment. So there's a lot to peel back here. So I'm hoping with Loretta Lynch, this is just the beginning of many more people that are going to be called in. Just line them up and get them in there, and let's expose all of this.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, man. 1,000%. Cryptocurrencies. It says that 1% own more Bitcoins than the other 99 combined. What is that all about, Siege?
Yeah, so this is great. Again, try to understand what exactly is going on in the crypto market. And this comes from the Ken Shorgan Jr., the Daily Economist. And he was able to, dig in through Bitcoin balances to take a look to determine that when you look at the number of Bitcoin addresses, now keep in mind, V, that this could be not only individuals, owners, it could also be entities as well. So, some of the bigger players in it. So it's not just individuals. But when you take a look at Bitcoin and you break down that 1% of Bitcoin owners controls 99% of the market. So basically, 275 million Bitcoin balances is split between 3 unique addresses that own $100,000 or 100,000 more of Bitcoin. And then it just really breaks it down into terms of, who owns what. Now, there's still room for the small players, obviously, because obviously how, Bitcoin breaks down. So you can see within the top, ownership of Bitcoin, which might be, a little bit of the reason why we see some price swings in it affecting some of the market. But you're right. Now's the low point to come in. So perhaps an opportunity for those that are purchasing less than 1 Bitcoin to come in and potentially make some money.
Yep. Absolutely. And at the end of the day, we got to understand one thing. If the beauty of the blockchain technology is this, if you come in with 100 Bitcoins to the blockchain and I come with 1 Bitcoin to the blockchain, we have the same access to the transactional means. We're treated as equals by the blockchain. Doesn't matter. That is not the same in our financial system. Okay, Our financial system, if you're coming in with $100 million or I'm coming in with $1, we're treated differently, right? You're going to be given more priority. Your cost of doing business is going to be significantly less. It's going to be higher for me. Whereas in blockchain, no matter who has the Bitcoin, you're being treated equally. And that's the power of the blockchain technology. Secondly, I would like to know, and what we need to find out also is how many of this is also owned, this 1% are the early adopters, the early miners that got the jump on everybody else, who were able to mine the ridiculous amounts of coins when Bitcoin was only $2 a Bitcoin. You remember those days?
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
So these are the things. So, we can see that, it's 1% owns the majority of Bitcoin, but who is that 1%? Who is that 1%? Is it central banks? Is it financial
exchange?
institutions?
Yeah, absolutely. An entity.
Or is it the miners? Is it those who got their feet? Like, honestly, like the individual or the group that calls himself Satoshi has himself over 1 million some odd Bitcoins, more than anybody else, And the early miners who were able to mine the Bitcoin when this was not even been looked at by anyone. Okay, I mean, when you look at the early technology of this whole entire thing, when they were setting up their mining pools and their server farms, all this computational power, they are early adopters of Bitcoin. So how much do they hold? And they're the early miners. So that's the one thing we gotta make. And again, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, because the blockchain is the great equalizer. That's the beauty of the system.
Yeah, and you get the transparency because of it. So
exactly.
there's no going back and modifying the ledgers and who did what. It's completely transparent, where they're able to see all this occur. And because of the setback that the market's occurring, that if before you couldn't afford Litecoin or Bitcoin, now may be the opportunity to get in.
Yep, absolutely, man. It's a great opportunity, especially after this last few days, this past week. The expected pullback. I mean, I was talking about it. You were talking about it. I mentioned many times, hey, you know what? If there's going to be a correction, it's going to be a correction. It's going to be an up and down, all the way up to $5,000 and $13,000 Bitcoin, and Ethereum is going to be to the moon as well. It was pretty funny over this weekend. I was watching Ethereum prices dipping into the twos and back up to the threes. This morning I woke up. I think it's sitting at right around. I think it's sitting right around. Where's my crypto wallet?
I need to move it to its own category. I have it grouped in with others.
Yeah, no,
Mine's
me too.
Right now,
I have mine grouped in with all my other funds.
Okay, so Ethereum is down a little over 13% right now, but down to 283 from what was it originally at V?
It was.
I mean, it's still above. It's still way above.
It was originally 330. Now it's right now it's a 259.74. So 259.43 is where it's at. I mean, it was high of over $300. So it's a good opportunity, guys. I mean, buy low and hold, man. If you're a crypto trader, this is a buy signal. And this is what these guys are doing. They're buying it up. They'll buy it at 259.39. They'll probably buy it at 258. Waiting for those buy signals. Probably might get into 253 or even 247 today. They'll buy those low points and they'll sell it back when it gets up higher at around like 300 and change or 310, 315. Or they'll hold it and watch the ride up and see how the algos pull it, But I wouldn't worry about it, man. I mean, all this weekend was really interesting, man. Really interesting,
Yeah, everywhere, across the globe, it was, interesting. We witnessed, bank bailouts, in Italy again, which we knew was going to happen. But, hopefully London Paul can walk us through that of what occurred there.
That's right, my man. London Paul will be on soon. Also, CJ, so much for the U.S. Syrian forward operating base. The operating base is now surrounded and basically of no use. No use, CJ.
Yeah, you just can't, take a plot of land and say, we're calling this the de-escalation zone.
Yeah. Imagine Mexico took a chunk of Texas and said, we're calling this the forward, the de-escalation zone of Azatlan. Imagine if they did that. My God, CJ. My God.
And again, and just strategically in terms of what Russia was able to do with Syria and Iran, and be able to block this effort by the U.S. to create this safe haven along the Syria Iraq border, and to try to block these trades where they were to came in and swoop in and block that from happening, and just basically seize any type of operation that they could have. And now they're publicly acknowledging this as well, V.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely, bro. It's now they're not you know. And why would they have that stupid southern base, man? Why? Well, it's real simple. Their whole plan was to control the Sunni corridor. Okay, the Sunni corridor that connected the Sunni forces that were merging into Iraq, that little section of Iraq, and the Saudi border in the south, through the Anbar province in West Iraq, through southeast Syria, all the way up into Kurdish-held northeastern Syria to Turkey. This was their whole strategy. And then go ahead and support uses. You guys, when you look at the entire schematics of what the U.S. and it looked like a very schizophrenic Syrian policy is, everything about America's Syrian policy is to support ISIS, period. Okay? So if you are a Sunni Wahhabist terrorist organization, if you find yourself in trouble with the native populations that are resisting you and fighting back and looking to wipe you out, and you need help, call the United States military. They will gladly show up and they will bomb your enemies, because that's exactly what's happening. The Russian military command told the U.S. that any attack on those forces will be a very unfriendly act that will be severely punished. To make the point, Iran fired medium-range missiles from Iranian territory to the Islamic-held areas in Syria. That's pretty impressive. The Russian Navy fired cruise missiles from the Mediterranean towards similar targets. That's the awesome caliber cruise missiles, which make our 50-year-old Tomahawks look like pieces of crap. The message was that the small U.S. contingent in Al-Tanaf would be toast if the U.S. military further messed around with the Syrian forces, because that's exactly what was happening. And the U.S. the special op guys that were over there got the message. So they are standing down. And if you notice, CJ, ever since Lavrov said, that's it, no more flying of anything from you guys, all of a sudden the aircraft carrier decks at the USS George Washington, it's pretty quiet.
Yeah, very, very quiet. And then
I thought we have the most baddest ass Air Force in the world. I thought we have stealth planes that are invisible to radar.
And then more importantly, when you take a look at this presser that didn't really get reported, basically, they admit, basically stating out here that, listen, and again, this was reported that the concentrated effort by the Syrian government or its Iranian-backed partner forces to defeat ISIS is remaining strongholds in eastern Syria, that they're now stating that they're welcoming it. They're actually saying, okay, yeah, great, and they don't have any choice. It's not like they can reverse the situation there at all. And then, quote unquote, we absolutely have no problem with that being reported by Army Colonel Ryan Dillon. So again, this is just kind of conceding that, hopefully at this point, the deep state, I think that they're out of options, with regarding Syria. I mean, everything's been exposed. I don't think there's anything really that they can do at this point to change the course.
Oh, 1,000%, my man. They've been outplayed. They've been outplayed and outgunned and outmaneuvered. There's nothing that these guys could do, bro. Nothing. They like I said, they don't want to listen, CJ. They don't want to listen to me. And I know they listen to shows like this. Guys, I'm telling you, deep state, please take your ball and go quietly into the night. Please. Please. But no, they don't want to listen, Siege.
Not at all. Not at all.
Unreal. Anyway, which brings us to the next topic at hand, Siege. When will the rug be pulled, my friend? All this rhetoric and fear porn of central banks about to put the kibosh on the market. What's going on?
Ooh, well, obviously, I think that people give the Fed, way too much credit. Whether they're going to raise rates, they're going to lower rates, and I agree that it does have certain implications on the market, certain implications regarding certain things. But I think that overall, that even if they start to give, reset things a little bit as far as the Treasury, pull some money back out of the market, they can't reverse a path. And it's something that we've talked about, several weeks now, is that what else is there to do with money? But, it's the debt that's so overwhelming right now for a lot of countries. So they have no choice but to print more money. It's like a two-edged sword for them right now, as far as the Fed and what they can do.
It really is a two-edged sword, because what can they do? And then the in the world of, look, here's the deal. Okay, the Fed position, what they're really doing is they are just sopping up all of the U.S. treasuries that have been dumping. They've been financially bolstering this whole entire market. Now, how have they been doing it? Well, one of the ways I just mentioned is they're, sopping up all the dumped U.S. treasuries, and they're holding it in their balance sheets. And, these are also dumped treasuries that have been exchanged when the banks went through the TARP. Remember TARP after 2008? They have the toxic asset relocation plan, whatever, right?
Yep.
Where the banks decided to take in worthless U.S. treasuries in exchange to bolster their books to look good for creditors, so they don't get a write down in their credit rating, right? Remember that crap? Remember that fiasco? Well, the Fed is holding in their books is 4.5, and I would even say probably even closer to 5 trillion. Okay. 5 trillion. They need to dump it. Okay? That is why when they're raising rates 0.25%, and why are they raising 0.25%? And a lot of people are like, oh, look, it's going to be the end of the world. It's the end of the world as we know it, right?
Right.
Dude, they're raising it 0.25% because they're about to do what I said. You heard it here first, folks. And Dex and I will go over it in detail tomorrow, because I know he's going to share his ideas as well. But I've been saying this. I'm the only one that said this, and please mark it down on your calendars that V said this, and heck, I've said this probably even again last week as well. What the Fed is going to do, they're going to follow the path that has been laid out for them by the Bank of Japan. What does the Bank of Japan do, or what did they do? Well, they have 64% of the Tokyo Stock Exchange stocks are owned by the Bank of Japan. Think about that for a second. How did that happen? Well, there's only so much JGBs, Japanese government bonds, that the Japanese central bank, the BOJ, could buy. So how did they do it? Well, they went ahead and they bolstered their books and their balance sheets with equities. The Fed has close to 5 trillion on their books. They need to dump it. There's really no more bonds they can buy. Everybody knows the U.S. bonds suck. Everybody knows that. Okay? We've known for decades at this point. Might as well be a decade. It's almost 2000. I mean, I've been talking about this crap since 2009. Wrote about it in 2009. Had my article circulated in various places in 2009, where I said that there's a bubble in the bond market and everybody's walking on eggshells. And, well, nothing's changed. It's the same situation. There's a bubble in the bond market and everybody's walking around on it in eggshells. And, in fact, the bubble's gotten worse. So, what is the Fed going to do? They're raising interest rates so they can dump and offset their close to $5 trillion that's on their books. Because without the raising of interest rates, and if they left the interest rates ridiculously lower or zero, and it pretty much is zero, okay, 0.25% doesn't mean jack squat, and then they dump, you will have some issues, okay, some undulations would occur within the marketplace. Okay, we don't want that. They don't want that. They need to get the hell out of Dodge, and they need to do it without looking like someone who's responsible for the crash. Because I'm going to tell you right now, no one is going to, if the Fed did not raise rates, and they went ahead and they just dumped their treasuries. They didn't buy equities at all. They just dumped their treasuries and they wanted to get the hell out. No one would be blaming Donald Trump for that. Most people who voted for Trump overwhelmingly know the truth that the Fed is a big problem in this country. Donald's been very vociferous about the fact that he wants to audit the Fed. So the Fed knows this. The central bankers, the establishment knows this. And again, there are good people in the Fed as well. Not everybody in the Fed who works for the Fed is an evil, miscreant banker. There are some good individuals. Daniel DiMartino Booth, who we've interviewed, is another example of someone who's in the Fed who is a good person, who believes that there are also other good people that are working in the Fed. And they're astonished. Okay, you see some of these guys on the Fed Boston. Those guys were the absolute rebels that Bix always talks about. Another good example. Now, because they're going to dump the massive amounts that's on their books, they got to have these interest rates up. Okay? Another thing is this, guys. We've been running since 2008 in a very illiquid consumer credit market. We've been running a very insolvent banking system since 2008. There isn't much solvency, and there's no liquidity, and there's no money velocity. Money velocity is the lowest it's been since 1965. Coincidentally, it's also the lowest in mortgage applications since 1965 as well.
Yep.
Okay? So there's a correlation there. Dead money velocity, illiquidity, and solvency issues. Okay? And yet the market's going higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. So do you think for 1 second that the Fed, whatever the Fed does, has any impact on the market? No, not really. Again, whatever they do, they don't want to cause waves. They can cause a wave. It's like a ripple effect. You can throw a pebble in a large lake. It'll cause a ripple, but then the ripple goes. The lake goes back to how it was on the surface. That is how this market is. Welcome to the new paradigm of computer trading, where when this changeover happens, it won't be you won't even feel it. It'll be business as usual, because as I said many times before, the collapse and the seizure of the United States economy doesn't happen here domestically; it happens abroad. Most Americans won't know it until it's too late. Okay, so what's going to happen? They're going to tick up another 0.25% at some point towards the end of the year. Okay? And they're going to buy up equities. So all this fear porn coming out from hedge fund CIOs and Citigroup and Bank of America saying the Fed is leaving the market and the rate hikes are going to begin. It's going to be against inflation. Everything's going to be bad. Blah, 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 blah. It is to get people to dump their shares because there's a lot of irrational exuberance. Because most people have figured out it's the go-go 90s, but this time around, it's all algos. It's all algos. So they're trying to get people to dump so they can buy up. Market bits pull back for a half a second. They make their killing, and then they come back hard and heavy, CJ. That's what's going on, bro.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it was interesting. We need to get Peter Schiff back on because he pretty much schooled Alex Jones the other day on the economy and the markets and what's going on. And
what did Peter say?
Well, I support our president. I support any president that's trying to do well for Americans, regardless of Democrat, Republican, whatever. But here recently, Alex has just been such a huge, proponent and anything and everything, and trying to always pivot in a good light. And Peter's coming forth and saying, listen, the Fed, if you think about it, they have raised rates 3 times since Trump has been in office. How many times did they raise rates whenever Obama was in office for 8 years? Never, right? So what he's stating is that he really thinks that, and I agree, that, and it's hard for a president to do. President's job is to build confidence in the market. You see how he was able to impact things when he said that, drug prices need to be lower, and all of a sudden pharmaceutical stocks, collapse. And I agree with that. I'm just using that as an example. But what he's stating is that he thinks it's time for President Trump to become back to candidate Trump that he talked about the market manipulation. He talked about the Fed and its policies and what it's been doing, because the Fed in particular, again, has ability here when they raise rates to do exactly what you stated in terms of buying in. But there's also the chance that if the Fed tries to, if any type of course to lead to any type of reversal in the markets or anything, that again, Trump owns the economy going forward regarding what's happened. So he's just really encouraging Donald Trump to come forward and say, listen, the road in America is going to be tough. We need to start thinking about jobs. We need to start thinking about how things are going to be, impacted. We need to talk about the last 8 years that there was no recovery. There was no recovery in the U.S. market. So again, to go back and start talking about those things instead of, hyping things up regarding saying, hey, look at all the jobs that are coming back. Look at all the expansion, all these things happening, and understand that is his role as a president. But then more importantly, that, he needs to start telling the truth. Something that we talk about is that we want the truth. We want to hear what's really going on. And I think Americans are hungry for that, V.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, that's what got him into office. That's what got him elected in the first place. And what he needs to do is he needs to go down the road of being very vocal about things and painting things as they are, and exposing things and keep the pedal to the metal. But I think in both ways, I mean, there's a lot going on. The economy itself, man. I think one of the things that people miss is look, man, 86% of all trades on Wall Street is computer to computer with no human involvement. And I used to be in the same school as Peter Schiff. I'm like, all right, man, this thing is coming down 2017. End of 2017, this thing's going to be over. This thing's going to go tits up. We're done. And the more projection windows that I put towards it, the more I realized nothing sticks anymore. Nothing makes any more sense. And I said, okay, then that's when I stopped looking at U.S. indexes as a barometer, or any sort of financial news coming out of the United States as a barometer, be it good news or bad news, of when the market is eventually, because the economy, the physical economy, has already collapsed. People just don't realize that. Yeah,
look at our trade deficit. Look at GDP. I mean, right. The numbers are real.
Right, the numbers are real, dude. I mean, look at how many people are on food stamps, how many people are on welfare, how many people are unemployed, how many people are underemployed. I mean,
that's the real economy,
right? 52%,
not the stock market.
And you put all that together, you're talking about 52% of the population is permanently non-productive. Okay, they're out of commission, dude. Okay, like 52% of the population done. I mean, that's crazy. So you can't have
unsustainable.
Correct. You can't have a $16 trillion economy, which we supposedly have, with 52% of your people out. We know the numbers are BS, right? So the physical economy is done. So the only thing left is like you have a patient who's already dead, but you have like a fake EKG machine that just keeps like, oh look, his heart rate is 77 BPM. He's totally fine. He's alive, and you have like a fake blood pressure machine. Oh look, he's totally alive. Look at his blood pressure. Let me inflate it again. And look, it's 120 over 70, 120 over 8. Oh, he's perfect blood pressure. It's fake metrics. Okay, so the market is fake. So I don't think anything the Fed does means jack shit anymore. It really doesn't mean anything. And I think these guys who are out there talking about, the Fed's raising rates, I mean, dude, when it was going up 0.25%, I said, what? Nothing is going to happen. Jack crap is going to happen. And then you got a lot of these guys who, again, these are guys that I respect. These are colleagues. These are guys in the game, guys like Pete. Like, that's it. It's over. It's the end of the world. Blah, blah, blah. Collapse. January 27th. Yeah, October. Nothing. Because it doesn't matter anymore. There's so much computer trickery. And look, here's the thing. And I've said this before, Siege. The more you financialize an asset, right, the more derivatives you create, the further away from the actual value of the asset it becomes. Correct? So,
correct. Yep.
When you've removed something so far from the underlying asset, when you create a financial instrument that is so far removed from the underlying asset, who cares? It doesn't matter if that asset actually has value or no value. It doesn't matter, because the derivative, which is right now 1,000% controlled by computer algorithm, has no bearing on supply or demand, has no bearing upon any sort of economic principles whatsoever. That's the realm we're in right now in this new economy, this new market. The physical economy is dead. It's dying. I agree with anybody who says that it is. But the make pretend economy, I think this make believe economy is probably going to ride out another 2, maybe 3, maybe even 5 years, bro. So all those guys are looking for a Dow to crash. It's not going to happen. We're going to see a 30,000 Dow. We might even see a 50,000 Dow. That's where we're headed.
Bingo.
And the best thing Trump could do between now and then is doing what he's doing right now, which to create an irrational exuberance, and create confidence in people, and provide the environment with lower taxes, okay? So people could start building back a manufacturing physical economy. Because if we could recover the physical economy to at least 40 to 50% of where it once was, when the make pretend, when the phantom economy or the electronic economy goes pop, the physical economy will be there to soften the blow. That's what he's trying to do. So if he was up there, if he wants to blow smoke up people's asses and circle jerk everyone and get everybody into like a tizzy, make them feel good about the economy of the country, that's what he needs to do. Because if he's out there being Debbie Downer, right? If he's out there being Debbie Downer, who's going to invest? Think about it. If you're the CEO of some sort of company, you're listening, you're hanging on every word that's going to come out of the mouth of the president of the United States. And that guy's saying, look, jobs are coming back, things are doing good, we're doing this, we're going to slash that, we're going to reform Obamacare. These are the trigger words that you want to see. Okay, the contrarian economists, like guys like Peter and stuff, they don't want to hear that crap. They want to hear, how are you going to go after the Fed? How are you going to dismantle the markets? How are you going to lay grenades and things and pull the pin and have the whole thing explode? But what these guys are proposing is an apocalyptic, cataclysmic end and a loss of millions of lives. Think about that for a second. A lot of these guys who want this market to collapse tomorrow, okay, who want it to end tomorrow, are calling for a cataclysmic, apocalyptic end to millions of lives in the United States and the suffering of millions of people in the United States. That is something that Donald Trump, and again, I am 2 steps removed from the guy. I'm friends with 2 people that are close to him, that are part of his inner circle. Okay? And I'll tell you right now, that guy, he has a heart. Is he egomaniac? Yeah, he is an egomaniac. But he's the kind of egomaniac that says, I can't fail you. Kind of like a dad, right? Who can't fail his kids. He doesn't have the heart to see people suffer like that. He really doesn't. Really doesn't. I sure as shit don't. Best thing to do is build up the physical economy so we can lessen the blow. So you don't have millions dead. You might have a few thousand dead. Maybe 10,000 dead in some of these large cities. Okay? Tens of thousands. But instead of tens of millions. There's no easy transition out of this. The only easy transition is you have to build a physical economy. Let the man build a physical economy, which he is doing. Make the environment so people start investing in America again, which they are doing. And let the electronic economy take care of itself, because that will stop when somebody somewhere hits that button and the algos come to a halt. And not one person has control of those algos, just to be sure. There's tens of thousands of prop traders right here in Jersey, right across the river from Wall Street, that are controlling the markets. I'm telling you right now, you have prop traders who are small prop traders, 7-man team prop traders running HFTs that can move an index, that can move a stock faster than any index could. It's incredible. So that's how much influence it is. So let the algo's running wild, and it will continue to run wild until it's all over. That's the state of it. So all these old school guys talking about the end of the Fed, this, that, and the other, market's going to collapse next Tuesday, right before Rosh Hashanah, because the Uranus is next to Jupiter. I mean, no. And again, these guys have egg on their face. All these gold bugs, egg on their faces. I always say, I want them to smash down gold to $700 an ounce. I want gold to go back to $500. Why? Because I'll buy it up. Whatever's left, The premiums will be high. I promise you're not going to be paying $500 on spot. You're going to be paying like $1,500, $1,700 on spot. Nobody's going to sell it to you at $500. But if it goes down, if I can get my hands on a few, I will get my hands on a few. Because I know it's hold, buy and hold. Everything else, I can trade. Be pragmatic, folks. Be flexible. Be flexible. And this doom and gloom next Tuesday, and no, he's doing the right thing, man. He let the guy build the economy. Let him create the confidence that the people need. Because look, majority of Americans out there and they're not like us, and they're not like the listening audience who understand the issues. They just think it's a black and white world. Okay, so when they hear the president say, "Hey, you know what? The economy is good," let them feel good about it, because the psychological impulse for an economy is just as important as anything else. Let them feel good about it. Let them go forth and invest. Let them create manufacturing. Let them build the tools. Let them create the tooling and the work and whatever they need. Let them have it, because that's the thing that's going to save us. That's the thing that's going to, not him, not Donald Trump going out there and wrecking the whole entire system, which he is doing. He's strategically doing it. Look, man, the best example, and I'll close with this. The best example I give everybody is this. Sometimes a friggin' tumor, and I've said this back in November, sometimes a friggin' tumor is so big on a cancer patient, right? It's that tumor has created its own blood supply, right? It's created its own blood supply. So for a surgeon to go on ahead and take out this 30-pound tumor, this 50-pound tumor that's on this person, it will kill the patient. So what he needs to do, he needs to cut off the blood supplies little by little by little by little. And that's exactly what he's doing. You don't believe me? 4,000 pedo arrests. And these aren't like low-level guys. These are high-level idiots. Okay? You're cutting off the blood supplies. All the losses that are happening in Syria, cutting off the blood supplies. Working with the Russians behind the scenes and the Chinese behind the scenes, wanting to have a position with us on the new Silk Road, that's cutting off the blood supplies. Bringing back manufacturing, getting us off of the this addiction, that's cutting off the blood supply. Having an entire Middle East, especially Saudi Arabia and the petrodollar, renegotiated, overturned, changed, a complete reorganization of things, cutting off the blood supply. Bringing back nationalism and a sense of pride about your country, that's cutting off the blood supply. These are the things, and it has to be done strategically. Otherwise, you rip that tumor off. Yeah, you got rid of the tumor, but you killed the patient. That is something no benevolent person or ruler wants to do.
Correct. Yeah, let's just hope that he can get the legislatures, on board quick enough instead of all these damn roadblocks that keep occurring.
Exactly, and you know what? The legislation will come along, because by next year they'll all be voted out. Watch what's going to happen. The bloodbath, the real bloodbath. You thought the 2016 election of Donald Trump was a bloodbath to the establishment? No. The bloodbath's coming, folks. Wait till the midterm elections that are right around the corner. The bloodbath is coming. You're going to see a lot of these establishment candidates thrown the hell out. With that being said, Siege, we've come to the end of the roost. Give out your plugs, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you go to roguemoney.net. Deb put out an article over the weekend. Go check that out. She's always doing amazing work. Just her mind state and everything that she puts. Banks are Slayer. So check that out. Also, a Rogue Money blog on Steemit. Check that as well. We continue to gain a lot of followers there as well. Been happy with the momentum. So keep going, keep sharing it.
Absolutely. And with that being said, folks, I am the one and only Gorilla, and check us out again, roguemoney.net. Check out our sponsors, myfreedomnow.us, and My Gold USB. Surf the web anonymously. With that being said, we're over and out. See you guys back at 10 a.m. with London Paul live. Take it away, CJ.